updating table data. So we have seen we created a table, we inserted data into the table, and in the later point of time, according to some requirement, we wanted to update table data. That is, we wanted to modify piece of information in some table. So how to do that? So this is the syntax of it. Update table name, set column name equal to whatever you wanted to set. We'll write that value here, and then so on. Like if you wanted to set modify the column more than one column value, we can go on specify more than one column, separating each column by a comma. And we can also have a optional where condition. So if we do not specify this where condition in the update statement, this will be applicable. The whole statement update table will be applicable for all the rows in the table. So always we will use where condition to filter the rows. Remember that. Now we wanted to update our table. So we wanted to update book or book table. So let's do that now. So first thing we'll be doing is we wanted to set to our database, our schema, so that we'll inform MySQL that we are in the context of this schema, testDB schema. So I'll select this schema. We'll execute. We'll click on this execute icon, and then there is something called SQL safe updates equal to 0. So we need to set this. Otherwise, MySQL will not allow us to update the columns if we do not have the some key in the where condition. So what is a key is? A key is used to uniquely identify any row that we are going to discuss in detail in the coming sessions. But for now, just think of like a key is just used to uniquely identify a row. And if we don't have key specified in the where condition when we are writing an update statement, then MySQL will not allow us to update that statement if this set SQL safe updates equal to 1. So by default, this will be on. So setting this SQL underscore safe underscore updates value to 1 is by default it will be set to 1, meaning we can't actually update any table without having key column in the where condition. So but we didn't know the like till now we are not aware of the key concept. So for now what we are going to do here is we wanted to write some condition on some other column which is not key, but still we wanted to like execute this statement, update statement. So in that case what we can do here is we'll set this SQL underscore safe updates command to 0, so that that condition of verifying like in the where condition if there is the key mentioned or not, that verification will not be there. So that will be skipped by MySQL, and whatever update statement we wanted to execute, that will be executed. So this is important. Just select this before you update anything. Execute this. You can see here the command got executed successfully. Now we wanted to execute an update command. So for that, first of all, let us see what's the data present in our table book. So for that, what we do here is we usually do select star from book. So let me do that. Select star from. I wanted to display the data in this table. So select star from book, execute. And you can see here a table with 4 columns. If you remember, this is the table we created yesterday with 4 columns and 3 rows. It has information, some information. Each row has book ID, book title, author, and quantity. And if you observe, intentionally we gave for the third row the quantity as null. So we actually miss null represents the missing value. Now what we are going to do here is observe. We are going to update this table, and what we are going to update in this table is for the third row I wanted to update quantity. As it is null, I wanted to provide some value to it. So how to do that? We already have the table created. We also have some data inserted into the table. Now I wanted to update this table, and that too, that's this specific cell, like a third row, quantity column. So how to do that? So this is the syntax. Update, we'll first use update keyword, then table name. We need to specify first which table we wanted to modify. So for that, update table name is book. Set is like modify what you wanted to modify, quantity column, and what you wanted to set the value as is equal to some value, whatever the value you wanted to set. If we leave here itself like this statement is also correct, valid. But if we execute this statement as is, then the quantity for all the rows here will become 4000. But that is not what we wanted. We wanted to update quantity for only third row, right? Third row. So how do we specify that? We specify it using a where condition. So whenever we wanted to filter rows, we need to use the where condition. So here also we are going to use the where condition. And what's the where condition is? You can specify any other column value in the third row. So here I am specifying book ID is equal to 30 is what I am saying. So let me repeat it. Update table name book, set quantity equal to 4000 is what, like in the book table there is a column called quantity. Set the value of quantity column to 4000, but do not modify the quantity for all the rows. I have a condition here where my BID equal to 30. So when you filter when you filter the results by this condition BID equal to 30, we will get some results. So to that results, only to that results, update this quantity to 4000 is what we are saying with this statement. So let me execute this now. And we can see here in the output. So first of all, it says that it executed successfully, which is indicated with green tick mark here. And we can see the message here. So it says one row affected, rows matched one, changed also one. There are no warning. So meaning that is updated successfully. And we can also confirm it using the statement here, using the select statement here by selecting the data from the table. Let me execute this. And now you can see it was null earlier and the quantity has been set to 4000 now. So this is how we can update the data in a table to a particular column. And we can also update more than one column at a time. So how to do that? This is our book table, and in this table we have 4 columns with 3 rows. Now we wanted to update some column, some data in this table C, and we wanted to update more than one column at a time. For that, what we are doing here is update book, set author equal to. So we are going to change the author name and also quantity. Fine. We are going to modify author column and quantity column values, and we are not going to apply this for all the rows. We wanted to write a condition where my book ID equal to 10, meaning modify the column values for these two columns, but don't do it for all the rows. Do it for only the rows which I specify by my where class condition. So BID equal to 10 returns as the first row. So for this first row, only for this first row, modify the values for these columns is what we are seeing with this statement. Like this, we can actually use set keyword to modify the values for more than one column. And what happens if we do not write this condition, where condition? This will be applied for all the rows in the table. But that is not what we wanted. We wanted to modify only for a particular row or some particular rows. based on our where condition. So this is how we need to write the update statement. So let me execute this now. You can clearly see the author name is some MK Gandhi, and it has to modify it to whatever we are providing it here. And quantity also you can see it is 3000. It has to be modified to 5000. Let me execute this now. So you can see it says one row affected and one row matched, one row changed. All right. So we'll see the data. And we can clearly see author name got changed and quantity was also 3000, I guess. It got changed to 5000. So this is how we can update data in a table by using the update statement and having a where condition, so that the rows will be filtered out and only for a particular number of rows based on our condition the update statement will be applied. And one more thing is we can modify the column values, like on more than one column we can modify the values at a time. So let me put it in the notes. Can be used to modify column values based on where condition, and this is optional. Where condition is optional. If you do not specify the condition, that will be applied to for all the rows. And can be applied on more than one column at a time. This is about update statement. Now let us see next command, delete command. So how to delete data from a table? So we created a table, we inserted some data into the table, we also updated the table. All these comes under DML statements, remember. So DML is data manipulation language. Now we wanted to delete some data from a table. So how to do that? This is the syntax. We need to use the delete keyword, delete from. We need to specify the table from where we wanted to delete the data, and some where condition. So we wanted to delete only some particular number of rows. Again, we'll use some where condition to filter out the rows, and we'll delete only that rows. And this is again, remember, this is again optional. So if we do not specify any where condition, all the rows from the table will be removed. This is the syntax for it, and these are the this is the example. So let us see how to delete some rows from the table. So we're already in the context of this testDB schema, so we don't need to execute this again. And now observe, I wanted to delete one row, so I don't wanted to delete all the rows from this table. So or else I would have executed delete from book. Delete is a keyword, and from which table? Book. So if I execute only delete from book, all the 3 rows from this table will be deleted or removed from this table. But we don't wanted that. We wanted to specify some condition. Based on that, the rows has to be deleted. So the condition here is I'll be specifying some column value, book ID equal to 30. So delete rows from book table, but do not delete all the rows. Only select the rows which has book ID as 30 is what we are specifying in the where condition. So only the rows which has book ID as 30, only delete such type of rows is what we are seeing with this statement. So let me execute this now. With this, what should happen? Book ID with 30 is our last row here in this table. This entire row should be deleted from this table. So let me execute this. And you can see the output is one row affected. It says one row affected, and the command ran successfully. Now let us execute this select star from book to view the table data. And we can clearly see here, third row from this table is no more. It is deleted from this table. This is how we can delete a row from a table based on some condition. And now I wanted to delete more than one row from the table. So how to do that? So we can also delete more than one row from a table by using some condition like this. Same condition we can use, but if you wanted to, if you have some list of values to match, and you wanted to delete if this condition is true. So in that case, what we can do here is, so in earlier case, what did we do? When my book ID is some particular number, it matches with 30, then delete that row is what we said. Now we have some list of values. So when book ID falls in this any if book ID matches with any of this list of values, then delete all these rows. So for that, in last session we learned we can use in keyword. So book ID in list of values. So if book ID is equal to any of these values from the existing rows, then that rows will be picked up for deletion. So this is what the meaning of this command is. Now we can see there are like only two rows from this table, 10 and 20, like book ID with 10 and book ID with 20, and it has like two rows, right? And we wanted to delete these two rows. And for that, we wrote a condition like where book ID in 10, 20. So let me execute this now. It says two rows affected. Now let me execute, select star from book. Now we can see there is no data in this table as we had two rows, but that two rows also we deleted using this statement where book ID in some list of values. So there were two rows and the two rows got matched with this book ID. So the two rows were filtered out with this where condition and were deleted from this table. And if you remember, the same thing can be done in a different way. Book ID equal to 10 or book ID equal to, so the same statement, how we can write the where condition is where book ID equal to 10 or book ID equal to 20. This is also same. This is also similar to what we executed just now. But in last session we learned like if we have many values, some 10 values, so you always need to repeat this condition, this column name each time. So instead of that, this is a shortcut for it. Like you can directly use in keyword and specify all the values here, list of values here, or else it is very similar to using this logical OR, which matches any of these values. So this is how we can delete more than one row from a table. And now we wanted to delete all the rows from a table. So I am not interested to specify any condition, where condition here, as I wanted to delete all the rows from the table. So how to do that? As we don't have any rows here, let's again create it. In last session we created this table, right? So I'm going back to that command. With this command you can create the table. Let me create it again. So table book already exists. Okay, table already exists. We wanted to insert data. So let us execute it, data here. I'm inserting second row, inserting third row as well. Fine. So we inserted 3 rows into the table. Now let us execute this, select star from book. Now we got the data back. So I executed the insert statements again, 3 insert statements. So we got 3 rows inserted into this table back. You can see it clearly here. Now we wanted to execute this delete from book command, so that I am not specifying where condition here. Observe that. So that what should happen? All the rows should be picked up for deletion and all the rows should be removed from this table. So let me execute this now. 3 rows affected. It says clearly 3 rows affected. So we can check that by viewing the data from the table. And you can clearly see here, when we try to read that data from this table, we don't see any rows in the table, meaning all the rows got deleted with this command delete from book. So this is how we can use delete statement to delete one or more rows from a table. Can be used to delete one or more rows from a table based on optional where condition is what we can say. So we are going to look into DDL commands now. What are DDL commands? Data definition language. So we use these commands to actually create, alter, creating, and alter is modifying, or drop is like removing the structure of the objects in a table. So not only table, so DDL actually applies to any object in the database. We can see the different DDL commands here. So create is used to for creation of the objects, and alter is used to modify. So we define some structure, say for example for our table. In the later point of time we wanted to modify something in the object table. So we can do that using the alter command. So using alter command, in the later point of time we can actually modify the structure of the objects. Say for example we wanted to modify some table definition, or we wanted to modify column data type, column name, or this we can do using alter. And drop is used to remove the entire table or any object. So any object we wanted to remove from the database, we use the drop command. Truncate is used to remove all the rows from a table. Rename is used to rename the object. So we'll see them in detail now. First we'll start with create and alter. So what is create? So create can be used to create database objects. Like we can create a database. We can use create command to create a table. So this we saw in the last session itself. So then we can create a view. We can create synonyms. Like all these objects, database objects, we can create it using command create. We can create these objects. And we already saw how to create a database and how to create a table. Now we'll see alter command. So how to use alter command. First of all, what is alter command? So as already discussed, alter is used to modify the structure of the database objects. We create the database objects using create command, and we in the later point of time, if our requirement is to modify something to that structure, then we use alter command to modify the particular database object. And we are going to see here, first we'll be seeing adding a new column. So how to add a new column? We defined our table with some columns, and after some time we wanted our requirement was to add a new column to the existing table. How to do that? So that we can use for that we can use alter command to add a new column and dropping the existing column. So we already have some columns in a table, but we no longer interested to have one column in some particular table. We wanted to remove that column from that table. So that we can use that also can be achieved using alter. And in the same way, like modifying the existing column, we neither want to add a new column or drop the existing column, but we just wanted to modify the existing column, like increasing or decreasing the size of the column, or if we wanted to modify the data type of the column, this type of modification we wanted to do. And this also can be achieved using alter. And we can also rename a column. So to the existing column, we just wanted to rename it. So for that also we can use the alter command. We'll see one example for each now. So for this we are going to use like testdb again. We already set it and we know what's the data in book table is. Okay, we deleted the data, right? We don't have it. Let's insert the rows again. Let's go back. Let us insert one by one row. You can see the output here. I'm inserting rows into the table. So I inserted 3 rows into the table. Let me select this and verify. Yeah, now I have 3 rows in the table. Now what we wanted to do, first thing we will be doing is describe book. So what does describe command do? So when we use describe command on a table name, it actually describes the structure of the table. So what are all the columns it has? So let us execute this and verify first. So you can see here the columns in the table will be listed and what's the data type of each column, and is null allowed in that column or not, and is any column specified as the key, and is the column has any default value. All these things will be can be viewed using the command describe. So this is the command describe is a command used to actually view the structure of the table, and you can see it here. When we execute this command, we can clearly see the structure of the table. It has 4 columns, and we can see the data type of each column here, and some other information of each column we can view it here. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to add a new column to this existing table called book, and that what we wanted to do here is, so you can see it here, we already have 4 columns, right? We wanted to add one more column called price. So we have book ID, book title, who is the author for the book, and the quantity of the books, but we wanted to have add the price for each book, and price and the data type of the price is double, so it can have decimal points as well. So we are declaring the data type as double, and this is the syntax of it. Alter table. Why are we using alter here? We already have the table. We wanted to modify the table, so we should be using the command alter. Alter table, and observe here we are using keyword table here. In earlier DML statements, we never use this one table. So we directly like see delete and from table name update table direct table name. But here in the DDL statements, you can observe the difference. We need to specify the keyword table also. Alter table actual table name. Then what we wanted to do inside this table, we wanted to add a new column. So we'll use the keyword called add, and what do we wanted to add? We wanted to add a some column, new column. So that we need to specify in braces again. This is my column name, and this is the data type. And if it has like some size, we can also mention the size after the data type. For now I am just declaring it as double value, double data type. So this is the syntax to add a new column to the existing table. Let us execute this command now. And you can see the message 0 records affected. So we are not adding any rows here. So it says 0 records affected. Now how to test this, whether this column is added or not. So for that, we wanted to view the structure of the table. So just to view the structure of the table, we can use the command describe table book. So I executed this statement now, and you can clearly see here it has book ID, book title, author, quantity, and also a new column got added, which is price of data type double. That is what we added just now, and that is what we can see it here in the structure of the table. So this is how we can add a new column to an existing table using the alter command. Now we wanted to drop a drop a column or remove a column from an existing table. How to do that? Again, the same syntax. To add, what did we do? Alter table name. We use the keyword add and specified a column name. So in the same way, we wanted to remove the column name. So alter table name. This time instead of add, we'll use drop. So as we already discussed, whenever we wanted to remove any object from the database, we use drop. And you can see we use drop here, and we need to specify what we are dropping. We are dropping column, and the column name has to be specified. This is the syntax to remove a column from a existing table. Alter is used to modify table. Okay, table name. Okay, till here alter table book name is we wanted to modify something in a table called book. Fine. What we wanted to perform, what we wanted to modify inside this table, that we are specifying using drop. So we wanted to drop something. Then column price. We wanted to drop column, and the column with the column name price is what we wanted to remove from a table. And this is how we need to specify the command for it. And you can select this and let's execute this now. So we you can see clearly there are like 3, 4, 5 columns in it, and just now we added this new column price, and we wanted to drop that same column. So let us do that now. We execute it and there is no error on it. Let us execute this describe book command. Now we can clearly see we have only 4 columns again. The 5th column which we added got dropped or removed when we executed this command. Now let us see how to modify an existing column. We have a table. We also have some columns in it. We have some rows in it, table data. Now what we wanted to do here is we wanted to modify the existing column. So we don't wanted to add a new column or we don't wanted to drop it, but we have a column. We just wanted to modify that column, the existing column. So how to do that? If you observe here, I wanted to modify it. So there are like 4 columns in it, and you can see here book title has data type defined as varchar. Varchar is of string data type or text. So it can accept text data type or string data type. And we also specified some fixed size length here, 100. So if the book title is more than 100 characters, it will not accept that. Uh, uh, More than 100 characters will not be accepted for a book title column. But I wanted my book title will be so long, so I realized it now and wanted to increase the book title data type size. So how to do that? We can see here the syntax again. Alter table book. Till here it will be same. Now we will say modify column. We don't want it to add a new column or remove an existing column, but we wanted to modify the existing column. So we'll specify modify column name, and what do you wanted to modify this column to? I wanted to modify this column data type. That too, data type will remain same, but I wanted to just modify the size of this column. So this is how we can specify the length here, data size here. And remember, there are some rules here again. We can increase or decrease the size of the column. So it is 100. We can increase it. Fine. Increasing has no constraint, no issues. But we can decrease the column size only when existing column value fits into the new size. So this is the condition here. So we need to take care that if you are going to decrease this maybe 150 to 20, but if your data has table data has a book title with 30 or 40 characters, then this is not allowed. This is a condition, as that makes sense, right? So we already have some table data with some 30 characters, and you wanted to decrease this to 20, this column. So what should happen to the existing data? So that becomes ambiguous again. So for that, MySQL will not allow. That's the restriction on decreasing the size. You can increase the size. There is no restriction on increasing the size from the existing value. But whenever you are decreasing the size, make sure that it has to be at least equal to the maximum length of any column value in the table. You can see it here. We can decrease the column size only when existing column value can fit into the new size. So even when you define a new size, you can decrease it, but it has to fit the all the column values in the table for that column. And if you wanted to change the data type itself, see, we are actually changing the only size here, and we talked about modifying the size of this column. What about, like, if I wanted to modify this column data type itself? I wanted to modify the data type itself. This is varchar, right? So say for example, I wanted to modify it to some integer. So in that case, again there is a condition. Column should be empty to change its data type. So all the data from this column should be removed first, and only then we can actually modify the data type for any column. So let me put it here in the notes. Modify column. These are the rules. These are the two constraints. First one is on data size. Second one is on data type. Now let me go back to the command. Now we are not actually we are following these two rules. We are not breaking these two rules. So we wanted to increase the size. So this is applicable. Second rule is applicable only when you are decreasing the column size. But anyway, we are increasing the size here. So we didn't break that rule. And the column should be empty to change its data type. We are also not going to change the data type for it. We are just modifying the data size. That too, we are increasing the size. So there is no constraint on this. And this is the command. What do we need to say? Alter table, table name, modify column. We wanted to modify the column name should be specified, and what has to be modified for that specific column? The data type also will be same, but just the data size of the data will be modified, and that will be specifying here in this braces. Let us execute it here. Observe, when we did this describe book, we have data type as varchar of 100 for this b title column. Now once we execute this, we'll see. Let us execute this first. Okay, the command got executed successfully. Now let's execute this describe book command, and we can clearly see here book title data type got changed to varchar of 150. Earlier it was 100. Now it can actually allow 150 characters in the as the column value. This is how we can modify a column data size. Data type is also same, but data size we wanted to increase, and this is how we can increase the data size for a particular column. Now next one is renaming a column. How to rename a existing column. And now we wanted to rename a column. So how to rename a existing column? This is the syntax again. Alter table, table name will be common. Then rename, what we wanted to rename column. Column name, what's the column name? We need to specify to new name. Rename column, old column name to new column name. Existing column name to new column name is what we need to specify using the keyword to here. We are using a keyword to here. Notice that. So the existing column name is b title, and we wanted to modify its name to the column name to something else like b name. And this is the syntax of it. Alter table, table name, rename column, column name to new column name. This can be anything, whatever we wanted to modify the column name to, the new column name. So let us execute this now. Just remember, it has b title. Existing table has second column name as b title. Now we are going to modify it as b name. Let us execute this, and the command executed successfully. Let us describe the book, and we can clearly see here b title has become b name now. Book title has become book name as a column name here. This is how we can use alter command to actually modify the existing columns, or add a new column to an existing table or drop a column from an existing table. Also, we can rename a column in a table. Next, we'll see delete, truncate, and drop. We already covered delete. So delete is a command used to delete, used to remove some or all of the rows from the table. We already saw this a few minutes back. So we can use delete command when we specify some where condition. Only filtered rows or some of the rows the filtered rows will be deleted. And to remove all of the rows from the table, we just need to use a delete command from table name. Then all of the rows from the table gets removed from the table. This is what we saw. And what is truncate? Truncate is used to remove all the rows from the table. This is also same, and the syntax is truncate table name here. So I just need to specify name here. Okay. And you can see it here, truncate table name here. So with this, what happens is it also removes all the rows from the table. But there is a difference between the delete and truncate. We'll see that in a few minutes. So let's understand what is drop. What does drop do? So when we use drop command on a table, drop table name, it actually removes the entire table definition also along with data. And you can see it here using delete or truncate, we can only remove the rows. Rows is the actual table data. The table data will be removed when you use the command delete or truncate. But when we use drop command, the entire table structure itself will be deleted along with the data. So these are the three commands, and we'll see the differences now. We'll see what's the difference. Like when we drop a table, when we say drop table, then it drops the structure, both structure and data as well. And when we wanted to delete some data, only table data, then we can use either truncate or delete. So when we use truncate table name is the syntax, and it removes all the rows permanently. And delete from table name, it removes the rows only temporarily. So what does this mean is, when we use delete command, we can roll back the rows. So what is rollback again? Let us understand that now. So in MySQL, there is a command called auto commit, and by default it is set to 1. So auto commit equal to 1. What does that mean is, when we are performing some operations on some DML, when you are running some DML commands in MySQL, what happens is, or in any other database, there will be two states like auto commit on or auto commit off. So by default in MySQL, auto commit is on, and on is represented here using the value 1. So set auto commit equal to 1 is by default set in MySQL. So what does that mean is, when you are performing some DML operations, so there is some conceptual commit, which means that it is permanently saved onto the database. So in some cases, you wanted to execute some number of operations, some number of queries you wanted to execute, and only based on the result of all these queries, or only if all these queries, say for example, if you wanted to execute some 8 to 10 queries as part of one transaction. So we execute all these statements, and once all these commands are executed fine, only then we wanted all these operations or all these commands to be persisted. The result should be persisted on the database. Persisted in the sense stored on the database permanently. This is our requirement. So in that case, we execute all the commands. So we'll go on execute the commands, but we will not be committing them. Committing is preserving in the database. Just remember that. So if auto commit equal to 1, it is set to 1, then MySQL automatically, implicitly, so what it does is, on each operation, or whenever you run some DML operation like inserting data, deleting data, that will be committed. By default, MySQL itself will commit it. But our requirement is not like that. We wanted to perform some number of operations, and based on the number of operations, like some after completing some 8 to 10 operations like that, then we wanted to manually issue a command called commit. So there is a command called commit, And this we wanted to, this comes under TCL, transaction control language. So this we wanted to explicitly execute this command, and we wanted to commit the operation into the database. So when we wanted to issue this command explicitly, then we need to first set this property to 0. So 0 is like auto commit off. So when we say auto commit off, MySQL will not commit the transaction automatically. So it will just leave it to the user, whoever is executing the queries. Then it's our responsibility, after some particular number of operations, we should remember and execute this commit command. Only then whatever operations we performed on the database will be persisted on the database. This is what we need to remember here. And by default it is 1. So I wanted to set it to 0. Till now we never used this commit command, if you remember. So why we didn't use this command is, it was auto commit. Auto commit was 1. It was set to 1 by default, and MySQL used to take care of all commits for all the queries. Even though you don't see it, MySQL used to auto commit it. That's the reason the data used to get persisted on the database. Now we wanted to set it to 0. We'll see why we are setting it to 0. We'll see it in few minutes. So you can see it here. I'm setting it to 0, and it's my responsibility, user responsibility. After performing some operations, some DML operations, I need to remember and execute this commit statement. Otherwise, the operations will, whatever I did will not be persisted onto the database, will not be taken effect on the database. So let me execute this auto commit equal to 0 first, and this statement has been executed now, and we'll use commit later. First we'll see delete from book. So let us execute book here. Delete, sorry, what does book table has? It has some data here. You can see here it has three rows. Now let us understand. I wanted to delete all the rows from the table. So for that I can use delete from book command. This we just now saw. So let us execute it again now. Delete from book. It says 3 rows affected. Fine. And observe, I am doing select star from book, and fine. You don't see any rows here. This is also fine. But you can't say that this transaction is committed onto the database. So what we can do here is, say for example, as we had auto commit equal to 0, the command whichever we ran just now, deleting the rows from the book, is not yet completed. Is not yet completed, and is not yet committed onto the database. Now, maybe for example, think of it like this. I have mistakenly done this, deleted data from my table. Now, as my set auto commit equal to 0, this query is not actually persisted onto the database, not actually saved onto the database. So I thought now I have an option of rolling back. Rolling back is like we can go to the early point. So early point is like whatever we made some query, right? Before that, what was the state of that table? So we can go to that point, and to go to that point, we need to use a command called rollback. So let me execute this rollback now. And remember, select star from book, we don't have any data. Now, I realized that it was done by mistake. We did that, we ran that command, and we don't wanted this query to be persisted, or this transaction to be committed. So we'll not be using commit command, we'll be using rollback. See, I'll use rollback. So with this, what happens is, this rollback command got succeeded. Now let us go back, do this select star from book. And you can see we got the data back. So this is the advantage of having auto commit equal to 0. So even if you perform some operation by mistake, you can always roll back and go back to a point where you are about to start that operation. You can go to you can take your table status straight to that that point. So this is the use of rollback. And to use this rollback and this commit explicitly, we first need to issue this command set auto commit equal to 0, as auto commit will be on, or it will be set to 1 by default in MySQL. Remember that. And now let us execute the other commands like delete from book. We did it, right? Now you can see it here. We'll also see how to do it using commit. So we have some rows here. Fine. Now again we'll see delete from book. It deleted 3 rows, all the rows from the table book. We don't see the any rows here. Fine. Now if I issue rollback, we know we'll get back the rows again. But this time I wanted to commit the transaction. I know that I'm intentionally doing this and I don't want to see the data in my table. So I'm deciding to commit this transaction. So for that, I'll issue this commit command. So you can see it here. It is not case sensitive, but as it is a keyword, I'll be represented with in uppercase. You can see here, I'm issuing this commit command. Observe now. Done. This transaction is now completed onto the database. Now, if you go back, select star from book, you will not see it. And also, let us try rollback now. So earlier what happened, when we don't see these rows, when we roll back, when we ran this rollback command and then try to view the data, we got the data, right? Let's do that now. Executed rollback. Now we'll execute select star from table, and still you will not be able to see the data as we already committed the transaction and it got persisted, or it got taken effect into onto the database. So this is the concept of commit and rollback, and this is the use of having set auto commit equal to 0. Now why are we discussing this is, so there's a point here. So you can see here delete from book, we just now saw all the different types of cases, like it removes the rows temporarily. Why you are saying it is temporarily is we can roll back the rows. This also we saw just now. So we deleted, we executed this command delete from book, and it rows got deleted. We also saw that we removed the rows. Then what did we do? We roll back the transaction. Then we were able to view the data. This we saw. And this we can achieve for delete command, as that comes under DML commands. Now let us take this truncate table. If you remember, we are actually discussing the differences between truncate, delete, truncate, and drop. Now we will see about truncate. So how to truncate a table. So what does we mean by truncate table is, using truncate table also we can remove all the rows from a table, but that is permanent action. So what does that mean is, let me execute this first. So what does this mean is, for truncate table, this is not applicable. Set auto commit is like either 0 or 1, so it doesn't matter. But truncate table is permanent. So meaning, like this comes under DDL statement, and for DDL statements, we can't actually have this commit and rollback. It's by default like auto commit equal to 1. So you don't have control on this DDL commands to either rollback or commit. So by default, these DDL statements are all like have the auto commit as on or auto commit as 1. So we should be cautious when we are executing the DDL statements. And truncate also comes under DDL statement. And when we execute this DDL statement once, so irrespective of whether you set your auto commit to 0 or 1, you can't actually roll back your transaction and you're lost. Your data is lost. So be careful when we use this truncate command. And what does this truncate table do? It actually removes all the rows from the table. So let me execute this now. Okay, first of all, we don't have the data, right? Let me execute this. We don't have any data. Let us insert some records into the table. Okay, it says B title in field list. Okay, we renamed it to B name, right? So somewhere we renamed it. Yeah, let us rename back to B title. That's why it was saying That's why it was throwing error. Select star from book. We don't have any rows. We wanted to insert some rows into it. So let me try executing all the three insert commands at once. Okay, we still have B title, fine. Okay. Now first we'll describe the book and see whether it got changed or not. Yeah, it changed to B title and we wanted to insert 3 rows in it. And let me execute select star from book. And we can see, we got some duplicate also here. Okay, fine. Anyway, we'll leave it. We have some data in this table. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to truncate the table. So remember, we have set auto commit equal to 0. And once, let's do this truncate table, it is a permanent action, irrespective of whether you have auto commit 0 or 1. So this is a permanent action and it will immediately take effect onto the database. So you will not have the option of rollbacking also, even though you have set auto commit equal to 0. Just remember that. Now we are going to truncate the table, truncate table, table name, book. See, I truncated the table. Now let us do select star from book. Now you can see there were like 4 rows, all the rows got deleted. Now let us try rollbacking it. I did rollback and we'll try to read the data from book table and you will not see it. So this is the main difference between delete and truncate. But in the case of delete, if you observe, when we tried delete from book, as the set auto commit was 0, when we roll back, we got the data back. But this time, if you observe, when we truncate the table, even though set auto commit equal to 0, uh, when we roll back, we are not getting back the data. So this is the main difference we need to remember. So what's the difference between delete and truncate? Delete is temporary and we can roll back. Truncate is permanent and cannot be rolled back. Very important. Remember this. And next, drop. So what is drop? Drop table is dropping the entire structure and as well as data of a table. So for that, this is the syntax: drop table, actual table name. So it doesn't have any data, right? So let us insert the data. And we can see there is some data in this table and we wanted to drop a table. So let's drop the table. Dropping the table is like dropping the entire structure also. So when we use truncate table, we at least had some column names, but only rows got removed. But now using drop command, drop table, so rows will be removed as well as the structure will also be removed. Structure in the sense you will not be able to see this columns also. So that's the difference again between drop and truncate. So let me execute this now. And you can see drop table executed successfully. Now when we see select star from book, see we get some error. It is not executed successfully. So it says error code, some error code has been given there. Table which is present in schema test DB does not exist is what it says. It doesn't exist. The complete book got removed. Book table got removed from the schema. And you can also see here under tables, we don't see that under testdb schema, we don't see that book table here. So this is what the use of drop table. So again, drop table is also DDL command and should be cautious enough when we are actually using this command, as we can't roll back this transaction. Now we don't have the table book, so I'll also mention that here is also permanent. Be cautious, as this cannot be rolled back. And here itself we can clearly see the difference. It is temporary and we can roll back. Truncate is also removes the rows, but it is permanent and it cannot be rolled back. And drop is one like it is permanent and it actually removes structure as well, structure of the table as well, along with the data. This is about delete, truncate, and drop, and the differences among them. Now we'll see how to rename a table. So till now we saw like how to rename a here we saw how to rename a column, right? Now we wanted to see how to rename a rename a table itself. So how to rename a table? So first of all, for that we don't have the table book. So let's create the table. We have the syntax here. So just we'll execute table. Okay, we created the table and we also wanted some data into the table. Done. And I need to commit this transaction as set auto commit equal to 0. So let me execute this commit, or else this insert also comes under DML and that will not be like taken effect onto the database. So I ran this commit command, or else what we can do here is we can just do set auto commit equal to 1. So that from now onwards, whatever we don't need to explicitly execute this commit command. That will be taken care by MySQL automatically. So whenever we run some DML statement, that will be auto committed by MySQL database. I ran that, I set it to auto commit equal to 1 back. Now, what we wanted to do, we wanted to rename a table, right? So, okay. Before that, we'll see what's the data in the table. So these are the 4 columns in our table with 3 rows. We have this table and we wanted to rename this table. Let's rename this table to some something else. Like the name of the table is book. I wanted to rename it to books. Let's do that now. Before that, let me execute this describe statement again, and you can see, okay, this is applicable for the columns, right? So we'll also see it here. Just refresh on this schema. You can clearly see the table name is book here. So it has to rename to books here once we execute this statement. And this statement got executed successfully. Just refresh this here. And you can see the table name got renamed to books. And also when you execute this command now, select star from book, you will get an error saying that testdb.book doesn't exist, as this table name got renamed to books. When we provide it as books, then we will get the data. You can see it here. Now we are getting the data when we provide the new name for the table. So this is how we can actually rename a table. So what are functions is? So functions are like we do have some functions written inside MySQL. Those we call it as built-in functions. So we can use these MySQL functions. We can apply these functions on our data, on our table columns, and we can actually with using these functions we can actually achieve something like using these functions we'll actually pass some parameters to these functions. Say for example we pass some data or we pass some our columns, then passing that to these functions, passing a parameter as data or our columns, we get back some result. So that's the purpose of using the functions, and we call this as built-in functions. Remember that. So built-in in the sense the functions which are already defined inside the MySQL. And these are the different categories of functions in MySQL. So we have string functions, which we can actually apply these string functions on the string data types. And numeric functions, we can apply these numeric functions on the numeric data. Date functions we can apply on the date date data. And we do have something called aggregate functions, which we can use aggregate functions to apply on a group of rows and produce some summarized results. So we'll see that now one by one. Let us first discuss about string functions. So what are string functions? So if you observe, there are like some string functions here, and the first function is upper. So what does this do? So when we wanted some data to be displayed in uppercase letters, all uppercase letters, then we can use this function. And how to use this function is, you can say select upper is the function name, and you just need to pass the data here. So you can actually specify some data also here in single quotes. Then that data will be from some table name. So then that data will be converted. So whatever case you give it there, the data, the entire string or the text you provide inside that upper method will be modified to the uppercase letters. So that's the use of this function, upper function. So let us use this function now. And we are going to execute it from employees table, right? So for that, and we don't have employees table in TestDB. We have it in classic models, if you observe. So for that, what we'll do here is, we'll just change the context to the schema of classic models. Use classic models is what I'm saying, as employees table is inside classic model schema. Now we can execute this statement. And this employees, so okay, first let's see what's present in this employees table. What is the data we have it in this table? Let us check that first. So these are the different columns in the employees table, and this is the data we have. And we can clearly see it has 23 rows in it. It has employee number, last name, first name, extension, email, office code, who the employee reports to, and then what's the designation of the employee. These are the columns of this employees table, and this is the data we have, and it has 23 rows in it. And now what we wanted to do here is, you can see first name also here, first name of this column. It has some data in it. The employees first names are displayed here, and if you observe, only first letter in the name is displayed with uppercase. But I wanted to view all the first names in this employee table in uppercase letters. So in that case, we can use this function upper. Now let me execute this. Now you can see it here. All the names of the employees, first name of the employees, we can view it in the uppercase. Clearly we can see it here. All the characters are turned into uppercase. And this is not like again persisted onto the database. We are not modifying the data on the database. So remember, only data is modified using when we use the update statement. So whenever you use the select statement, it is only for retrieval or reading the data from the database. So there is no modification or write onto the database. It is only read when we use select statement. And this is only for our readability. So how the first names look like when we use the function upper. So in that case, we can use this select statement. And even if we wanted to modify this also, then that's a different requirement. Then we would have used the update command. But now we just wanted to know the functionality of this upper function. That's the reason we are using the select command and using upper function and passing some parameter called first name as this parameter to this upper function. And we can clearly see the data here. The data is turned into all the uppercase letters here. So this is the use of upper function. Now let's see the same thing for lower. So lower is just the reverse of it. So you will see all the characters in lowercase. And you can see here all the characters in the first name are turned into lowercase letters. Now we'll see length. Length method. Length method is used to calculate the length of a string. So whatever string you pass it, so you can see here select. I am selecting using length function, and I wanted to find the length of this string. So length is like how many characters the string has, the count of number of strings here. So you can see it here. I am passing some string here. MySQL, as this is string, I am passing it in single quotes. So let me execute this. And you can see when I use length method here on a word called MySQL, I got the result as 5, which is true. So you can count the characters in this string. So it is 5, right? So that is what it returned. So that's the use of length function. So length function returns the length of a string which you passes to it as a parameter. And how to use this in tables? Like say for example, there is a table called employees. We just now saw it. From that employees table, I wanted to have first names which has length 4. So I have a table called employees, and from that, let me execute this first. So you can see here, this is the employees table data, and here we can see first name column. It has some data here, but I'm not interested to display all the employees first names here, but I wanted to actually wanted to view the information of the employees whose first name length is of only 4 characters. So in that case, this is what we can write it, like select star from employees, but don't return me all the rows. I'll be writing some condition here using where class. So what is my condition? Length of first name should be equal to 4. Only then, so display such type of first names or such type of employees whose first name has length as 4 is what we are specifying it here. So length of first name will return the length of each, like for the first row, it will return 5, right? So is 5 equal to 4? No. So this condition will be false. So this row will be skipped. Next, it comes to this row. MARY. It has 4 characters. So length will be 4. 4 equal to 4. Matched. So in this case, it is true. So this row will be picked up for viewing. It will be displayed like that. So Jeff has 4 characters. It will be displayed. William has more than 4 characters. So this row will be dropped. Like this, the rows will be picked up wherever first name length is equal to 4. So let me execute this now. And you can see there are only 5 such rows whose first name length is of only 4. This is how we can use the length function. Next, there is a function called trim, which actually trims in the sense removes the specified characters from, like leading and trailing characters will be removed. Like say for example, in this you can see it here, select. When I use trim function on a string called some blank spaces, some string, then blank spaces. Again, we have a string, so that we need to specify in single quotes, where we have some leading spaces and trailing spaces in that string. So leading spaces is this, trailing spaces is this one after the string. And I don't when I want, but I don't wanted these spaces to be displayed. I wanted to trim these spaces, or I wanted to remove these spaces. So in that case, we can use the trim function. So let me execute this. And you can see it here. Also, we can have some alias here. So in last session, we discussed about these aliases. So when we have some alias here, this is what will be displayed here in the place of column name. That is what we call it as alias. You can see here. I provided some alias here, and this alias can be anything. I can just say alias one also, anything. That will be displayed here. And what's the data we see? MySQL. And what did this trim function do? Even though it has some spaces in it, in this string, so it removed it. That is what it will do. So not only spaces, the next statement you can view it. So what we can do here is, select trim of u from this string. So I have some string, long string. From that, I wanted to remove one of the characters from this string. You can see it here. This is a long string, and from this, wherever there is a character called u, remove that u from this string is what we are saying. So this is another way of using trim function. Also, let us give some alias for this query as well. After trim u is what I will say, and you can see it here. After trim u, I get the result as MySQL. As it so wherever there are u's in it, so it just removed it. Like the u should be either in the starting or end of the string. So all that will be removed. Either it has to be leading or trailing. That characters will be removed from the actual provided string. This is the use of trim function. Next, in str, it returns the position of the character. So let us see that. We have some string here, and we wanted to find the position of one of the characters in the. We wanted to find uh, a position of a particular character in that string. Say, for example, there is a word called MySQL. In that, I wanted to know the position of Q. So, what's the position of Q in this MySQL word? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's placed at fourth position. So, it has MySQL is a string of length 5, and Q is placed at the fourth location. If you observe, so that's what we call it as a position. Now, this is how like we can use in str function to actually find the position of some particular character in a string. So this is the string we need to provide, and the second parameter is what's the character you wanted to know the position for. So let me execute this, and you can see it here. Here, if you want, you can just specify some alias here. You can see the position is 4, and also if you want, you can modify this and verify. I'm providing S here, so S position is 3, so it says 3. So this is the use of in str function, where it actually returns the position of the specified character in a given string. Likewise, we have some more string functions. So you can see it here, substr or substring. It returns the substring of a function. So what do we mean by substring of a string is? So you can see it here. So when we use substr, meaning substring, we have a string here, welcome, and if we are interested only to pick up some particular character from this string, that is what a part of the string. That is what we call it as a substring. And you can see this substring function takes two parameters. So the first parameter is what the actual string is, and the second parameter is uh, we need to tell the starting position from where we wanted to pick up the substring, and the second parameter is how many characters you wanted to pick from that string. So you can see it here, we gave it as 4, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. So position of C is 4, so it has to start with C, and from there we wanted to read 4 characters. So from there 4 characters is COME. So COME should be written. So that's the use of substr, meaning substring. Substring is part of a string, and that too, when we are specifying part of string, what part you want. So that we wanted to part in the sense like what's the some portion of the string you wanted to read, and that how do you specify? First, we need to specify some string, and then as we need some portion of the string, we definitely need to give the starting index, and then how many characters we wanted to read from that position. So that is what we specified here. So starting with the fourth position, I wanted 4 characters. So let me execute this. You can see here starting character is C, so it started with 4, and from there I wanted to read 4 characters. So it says COME. Say for example, I wanted to read only 3 characters. So in that case, it will say COM. See, it returned only 3 characters from the fourth position. Likewise, you can see it here. Another example. It starts with I wanted a substring from welcome. I wanted it from the first character and wanted only 3 characters. So let us execute this. So it starts with the first character and it reads only first 3 characters. That is what we specified. And in the same way, sixth character, it should start with sixth character, sixth position. So sixth position has M, and from there I wanted to read 2 characters. So ME. You can see it here. So this is the use of substring, and we can also use the same using substring as well. Both are same. So you can see uh, it has same syntax. It will take the same number of parameters. Everything same. Functionality is also same, but you can either specify it using sub str as the keyword for the function, or you can say sub string. This is also same. Both are same. Functionality is same. We can either use this or sub str or substring. Let us verify the result for this. So it also returns the same. 1 comma 3 returns WEL and 6 comma 2. So sixth position is M. Like from there it reads the 2 characters ME. So both are same. You can use either of it to read the substring from a string. And this hyphen hyphen specifies comments. So this will be ignored by MySQL. Here uh, you can write any text here. It will be ignored by MySQL. We just need to specify it with the hyphens, hyphen hyphen like this. And whatever you write it after that will be considered as comments and will not be considered by MySQL. It will just ignore that comments. Next, we'll see. Okay, we are already in the use classic models, and we wanted to see substring on some table in the table itself. So let me execute this classic model schema so that I am in classic model schema now. Now in this schema, I will have some employees table. We already have this table here. Let us execute this. Let me get this here. This has the data. Employees table has some data, and from this, what we want, I am interested is I wanted to display first name, and I wanted to not display all the characters from the first name. I wanted to display only first 4 characters. Starting with first character, I wanted to read 4 characters. So this is how we can specify substring of. Here we actually provided some text here in single quotes. This time we are actually providing the column name of a specific table. From that table, I wanted to read, like from the first character, 4 characters I wanted to read is what we are seeing. And now you can see from all the names, so we can just specify an alias here like this. And you can see here all the names, even though it has more length more than 4, so it is truncated, and we can only see like first 4 characters in all the first names for all the employees. So this is how we can use the substring function. Now concat function. So concat function, what it does is when we provide 2 strings, it takes 2 strings as parameters, and when we specify concat function on it, it joins these 2 strings. So what does concat do? You can see the syntax here. Select concat function, and we need to specify 2 parameters here. So first parameter is first string, second parameter is second string. So it actually gives us the result of joining these 2. You can see it here. MySQL, it says it actually appends, or we can say it actually joins these 2 and gives us the result. This is the use of concat. And if you wanted some space here, you just need to give some space here before the second string. Now let me execute this, or we can say I'm just saying concat example as alias. You can see it here. So what did this concat function did? It just joins these two strings and gives us the result. And if we wanted to apply it on some columns in a table, on the employee table, we'll do that. So you can see this is the employee table data, and we wanted to see the complete name, full name, full name from full name of the employees from the employee table. And you can see it here. How to do that is we'll use concat function. First name is first parameter. We'll have the second parameter as last name, so that these two will be joined, and we can see the full name. We are seeing it as two columns, right? We can view it as one column itself using concat function. And for that, I give some alias here. If you do not specify this alias, by default, we will get this whole function in the column name. You can see it here now. So the alias we provided is displayed here, and you can see what happened with the concat function, first name and last name. You can see first name, then last name, Diane Murphy, Mary Patterson, like this, William Patterson. First name and then last name got displayed. So both got joined, and we can see the complete full name here. And this we achieved using concat function. This is the use of concat. And there are like many other functions which MySQL supports in the 8.0 version. So for that, I provided the link as a reference here. You can just click on this. So just hold control and click on this. You will be taken to the official website of MySQL documentation, where you can find the more string functions. Like you can see here, char length. We just now saw concat. Like that, there will be many things: field, format, hex, in string we saw it. L case is also like a lower. We just now saw lower also, right? So this is synonym of it. Both does the same job. So left, length we saw, like. So these are all the different string functions available in MySQL. So we code only some of them. So you can go through the other functions as well here in the documentation. Next comes numeric functions. So what are the numeric functions available? Till now we saw string functions. So we can perform whatever we can perform on the string data. That functions we have seen. Now we are going to see some functions which will actually can be applied on the numeric data. So you can see the first function is ABS, meaning absolute. It gives the absolute value of a number. So what does that mean is, even irrespective of your, it is either positive or negative, you will get the absolute value of it. So let me show you that. I'll just say here as numeric. These are the numeric functions. In the same way, I'll specify here somewhere here as string functions. And now see here, select absolute of -10. So let us see the result of it. You can see the result is 10. So even though we pass some negative number into it, we'll get the absolute value of it. Absolute value is like a positive value of that number. And even if you provide some positive number to this function also, the result will be same. You will get the same. This is the use of absolute function. Next, square root. How to find the square root of a number. We have some built-in function here. I'm just providing some uh, alias here. You can see it here. So what does the sq square root function does is, so when you provide it as sqrt and provide some numeric value into it, the square root of that number will be displayed. So you can see it here. When I execute this statement, square root of 36 is 6. So that is what it is. It displayed. So you can also see, say for example, I wanted to find the square root of 9. You can provide any alias here. This is just for our view readability. So you can see square root of 9 is 3. So this is the use of sqrt function, which actually returns the square root of a number whichever we provide. And modulus. Modulus returns the moduli of that two numbers. So when 20 is divided by 3, what is the remainder we get? That is what this MOD modulus function returns us. I'll just say some MOD1. And you can see here, when 20 is divided by 3, what's the remainder we get? 3 6 are 18, so 2 will be the remainder, and that is what we can see it here. So that's the use of MOD function, modulus function. It returns us the modulo of that two numbers. Next, power. So what does power function does us? So this is also a numeric function where we'll pass two parameters to it, and it 2 power 4 will be written. So what does 2 power 4 is? 2 is multiplied with 2 itself 4 times. 2 into 2 into 2 into 2. So what's the result? We should be getting 16 here. So whenever we specify some two parameters here, so the first parameter will be multiplied to itself, and that will be done how many times? That will be specified in the second parameter, and you can see it here. So when we execute this statement, it returns us 2 power 4. 2 power 4 is 16. Like this, you can also specify something like 3 power 4. 3 power 4 is 81, I guess. Yeah, you can see it here. 3 power 4 is 81. So like this, we can actually get we can pass two numbers. So the first number will be multiplied by itself, and that will be done how many number of times, that will be specified in the second parameter. This is what we can achieve using the power function. Now comes the truncate function. So what does the truncate function does? So remember, truncate function is different again. So we just now discussed about truncate, which comes under DDL command, which removes all rows from the table, and we can't roll back it. It is permanent, is what we discussed. That is different to function. And how to differentiate it? When we use truncate, the syntax of it is entirely different. So truncate, then we'll specify table name, table keyword, and then we'll specify table name. Here we'll, so always any function is, we know that till now we saw any function, it is specified with braces. So two braces, left brace and the right brace. You can see it here, two braces, and inside it we'll pass some data. So that is what we call a function as. And you can see it here, truncate is a function here, and what does it do? When we pass two parameters here, observe it now. So truncate, we pass two numbers here. First one is a decimal number, you can see it here, some 50.1234, and when we specify 2 here, what does it do is it truncates the decimal places to 2. You will be shown only first two decimals from this number. That is what this does. So you can do, let us execute this. And you can clearly see it here. What does this do? We have some decimal number, and we specified that in the second parameter, we specified how many decimal points we wanted to be displayed. So first two decimal points is what we wanted to display. So decimal places is just like in the decimal number, whatever we have after point, after dot. So whatever comes is what we call it as decimal points. And from that, there can be any number of digits there after decimal point, but I wanted only first two numbers is what we are seeing with this function. And see the next example. There is some number called some 60.5678, and from that we wanted to have only three decimal points. So the first number 60 will be there as is, point or dot, decimal point. From the decimal points we wanted to read only first three decimal places. So that's the reason it returns 567. And observe this now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we are providing some negative number. So in that case, what happens is the entire number will be displayed, and a 0 will be like for the last position, 0 will be added. Why only for the last position is that is specified with here, as it is minus 1. So what does that mean is from the number whatever we provided, so ignore the last digit, last one digit, and replace it with 1 is what we are saying it is what truncate function does. You can see it here. So we have a number called 1, 2, 3, 4, and we specified a negative number as a second parameter. So the meaning of which is, so from the number, whatever number we specified, as we specified 1, right, minus 1. So from this number, one number, the last digit, rightmost digit should be removed, and that should be replaced with 0. That is what you can see it here. You will understand it with this next example. You can see it here. 1, 2, 3, 4. When we say minus 2, so from the 1, 2, 3, 4, as it is minus 2, last two, rightmost two digits should be removed and should be replaced with zeros. And you can see it here. It says 1200. And there can be a big number as well, like 8-digit number. But whatever number you specify here, we specify minus 5 here. So the last five digits will be removed and will be replaced with zeros. And you can see clearly the output here. And this is the use of truncate function. And remember, truncate function is different to the actual truncate DDL statement. From the numeric functions, we have truncate function, which is different to truncate DDL statement. So we do have some more numeric functions. You can see it here. Numeric functions. So some more numeric functions are greatest and least. So what does these two return as? So the greatest function returns greatest from the list of values whichever we specify, and least returns us the least value. So let us look into this. So when we execute this, we provided some list of we specified some list of values here, and from these the greatest of which will be returned. What's the greatest of this list of values? 50 is the greatest, so that is what it returns. And we wanted we specified some, okay, I give a semicolon here. We specified we listed some numbers here, and we are using least function on them, on the list of these values. So it will return the lowest value from the list of values. So lowest value from the 10, 20, 30 is 10. So that is what it returns. So this is the use of greatest and least functions, as which are part of numeric functions. And again, like if you click on this link, so you will find many other numeric functions. So if you are interested, you can go through these other numeric functions as well. So we covered this MOD function, we covered ABS, like this. We have some, arc, cos, sine, tan, seal function, floor, all these degrees. We covered power, and POW is also equivalent to the power method. So these are the some more numeric functions we have. So you can go through this later. I give the reference link here. You can go through them later. So now let us discuss about the date functions. So like how we have string functions and numeric functions, we do have date functions. So date functions, what it does is these functions we can apply on the date data. So you can see it here. Let us see them one by one. And you can see it here. If we wanted to know the current date, so then we can use this function. CUR represents current, date, DATE, and as it is a function, we need to specify with the braces, two braces. So if I execute this, we'll get the current date. See, current date we'll be getting like that. If you specify current underscore date, both are same. The syntax is different. That's it. So you can see it here, CURDDATE or current underscore date. Both returns the same result. Current date is what the functions will return. And if you observe, we didn't pass any parameters to this function. We are just using these functions as is without passing any parameters to it, and we are getting the current date. And in the same way, we have two methods, and these two functions is same. Like either we can use this function or this function. So the result is same. Likewise, to know the current time, we can execute this CURTIME function, which returns the current time. And we can also use the same using current underscore time function as well. So these are used to find the current time. And when we use now function, so it returns both date and time for us. So you can see here, current date returns current date, current time returns only current time, right? When we use now function, it returns both date and time. You can clearly see here. So date and time. Sys date is also same. So it returns the current date and time. Both are same. We can use either now function or sysdate function. Both returns date and current time. Now this is important. You can see it here. Month. Month is a function where we specify some date here, and this date we specify it in a format. So you can see the format here. Y. So let me put it here. The format. It has to be month and then date. This is the syntax of it. And what does this return? From this is the complete date, and from this date, this month function actually picks up the month, and it will return the month from this date. You can see here, this is the syntax, and the month is represented with this. So it returns us as 2, meaning it is a second month. So this is the whole date. From the whole date, we wanted to actually retrieve or read the month from it, from the whole day. So in that case, you can use the month function and pass the date, the complete date in this format. Then we will get the result as the month number here. This is the use of month function. And likewise, we have year as well. So year and day as well. Okay. What we can do here is, I'll just copy this. So when we specify year here, what happens? Let us execute this. So we'll get when we use year function and pass some data to it, we'll actually get the particular year from that date, the whole date. So this is what year function is used for. And then day. So day is like YYMMDD. So the last one. So it returns 25 here. You can clearly see it here. It returns 25. That is the date. So when we pass the complete date in this format to the day function, so it returns it retrieves the day from it, and it will display the result for us, the actual day which is present in that complete date. And now we'll see how to apply these functions in our tables. I'm going to use classic model schema for this. So let me set it classic models schema. And what are we going to do? I am going to apply orders. So let me execute this select star from orders. This is one of the tables in this classic model schema. You can see it here, and you can see my condition here. This is the orders table, you can see, and it has some 326 rows in it. It has order number, order date, required date, ship date, what's the current status of this order, are there any comments for this order, and the customer number, customer who has placed this order. So this is about this orders table. And what I'm doing here, you can see it here. I am interested to look into the data of orders which are placed in the year 2005. And you can see the order date here. The order date is in the format year first, then it is month, then day. And from this I wanted to I'm interested to look into the orders which were placed in particular year 2005. So in that case, this is how we can specify the condition. When we specify select star from orders, it will return all the rows, but I am specifying some condition here. So what's my condition? From the order date, so order date might have the format of complete date format, but from that extract the year from it. So it will extract the year from each row. So from each row, you can see it here. For the first row, it has 2003. And is it equal to 2005? Is what it will check. So it is not equal to it. So this row will be ignored. Likewise, each row will be from each row, order date column, from each row, the value of order date will be picked up. And from that, again, year will be extracted from the whole date. And this will be verified. Is it equal to 2005? If it is equal, that row will be picked up for the selection and it will be displayed as the result, or else that will be ignored. So you can see it here. Let me execute it. And you can clearly see it here. There are like total 326 rows or 326 orders in the orders table. And the orders which were placed in 2005 are only 64. That is what we can see it here. And you can also notice here, what are all rows displayed here. You can observe the order date here. From the order date, you can, if you notice the year, all the results as 2005. So that is what we wanted to filter out. So that's the reason we used year function on the actual order date, which actually filtered the order date with the particular year which we provided here. This is the use of date functions. Like among them, like we use the year function here. Now let us use month here. We wanted to, we are interested in knowing what are all the orders placed in month March. So that we can specify using number, like in March, right? March is third month. So we need to specify it as 3 here. Same as like year, here just we are extracting the month here. You can see it here. So it has 27 rows in it. So the orders placed in month March are 27, and that is what it is filtered. And how did we achieve it? Using month function. So from the entire date, we wanted to extract month from it, and we wanted to verify if it is equal to 3. If it is equal to 3, we'll pick it up and we'll display it here. And that is what we can see it here. And in the same way, we can also, instead of providing the number here, we can also filter it out using the actual month name. And for that, we should be using the function called month name. So when we use month function, we definitely need to match it with the month number. But the same thing can also be achieved using month name. So when we say month name, then we definitely need to provide it a month name here, the complete month name. So we wanted to filter out the orders placed in the month March. So that's the reason we are providing it as month name, and we are passing order date. From the order date, pick up the month name and check if it is March. If it is March, display that result is what we are seeing. And you can see it here, the same result. Either it is 3 or March, both are same, right? So we are getting the same result here. This is how we can use the date functions. Next comes the aggregate functions. So aggregate functions are about performing calculations on multiple rows of a single column and returning a single value. So we do have multiple rows for a table, right? So from all the multiple rows, we wanted to perform some calculations on these multiple rows for a particular column. We'll pick up some column first, and from that column, uh, we wanted to perform some calculation on a single column on multiple rows for a single column, and finally we'll return a single value. So that is the definition of aggregate functions. And what's the use of aggregate and what are the different aggregate functions we have is you can clearly see it here. So when we wanted to find the average, so let us take this queries first. When we execute these queries, you will know. Use classic models and there is a orders table. So let me show you orders table here. So this is the order details table and it has like more than 1000 rows. You can see it returns 1000 rows. Why it is showing only 1000 rows here? Here is you can see in the UI here there is a drop down limit to 1000 rows. So we are limiting only to 1000 rows of data here. So even this table has more than 1000 rows. We are limiting only 1000 rows here in the UI. You can set it here. You just need to click on this and you can click it to some 5000 or 10,000 rows. And when we execute this statement again, and you can see it has actually 2996, 4 less than 3000 rows. Those number of rows this table has, and we can quickly see the structure of this table. So the order number, it has order number, it has product code, and each product code how many quantity ordered and price of each unit and the some order line number. So this is the structure of this order details table. And now what we wanted to do from this table is we wanted to calculate, you can see it here, average quantity ordered. We have some like a table, order details table, which has some around 3000 rows. From this, what we wanted to know is there are like for each order there will be some quantity ordered, right? So we wanted to know what's the average of all this quantity. We wanted to calculate the average of this quantity ordered from this table. So how to find that? So what's the average? Average is like calculating the sum of all these orders divided by the number of rows it has. So instead of we performing that calculation, we can use a function called AVG, which actually returns the average of all the rows for a given column. So you can see it here for a given column quantity ordered. We wanted to find the average of all these rows. So for that, what we can do here is we'll use AVG function. We'll pass the quantity ordered column to it from the table. Table name we'll specify it so that we'll get the average of this quantity ordered column. So what is average? Sum of all these quantity order for all these rows divided by the number of rows. That we will be getting with this statement. You can see it here, average quantity ordered. You can just have some alias here if you want. So 35.21 something is the average of all these orders. So each order number has some quantity ordered and we wanted to find some average on all these orders. So the average comes to 35 point something. So this is how we can actually find the average on a column for the multiple rows. And sum is like finding the sum of all the values for a particular column. Like for a particular column, there can be number of rows, and for all the rows, we wanted to sum up the values for all those rows for some particular column. You can see it here. Quantity order is one column, and it has some values for each row. And for all these rows, I wanted to add all this quantity order. So till now, whatever order was placed, so what's the quantity ordered? The sum of that I wanted to know. So if you observe, each quantity has each order has some quantity here, some quantity ordered here, and how to find the sum. So see how difficult it will become if we wanted to do it manually. We need to calculate all the sum of all these quantity order for like 3000 rows. So instead of that, what we can do here is we can directly use a function called sum, sum of quantity ordered from my table. So what does this return? This returns me the sum of the quantity ordered till now. You can see this is the quantity ordered sum. For that, we just need to know to use the sum function. And min and max. Min returns the minimum quantity ordered. There are like many orders here, right? So let me execute it again. You can see here quantity ordered is like 30, in some case 50, 22, 49, like this. For all these values, among all these values, I wanted the minimum quantity ordered. What's the minimum least value from all the quantity ordered? So for that, we can use min function, min, and then pass the column to it. So minimum order is 6 is what it returns. So in the same way, I wanted to find the max order. What was the maximum quantity ordered? We wanted to find that. For that, we'll use max function, and the max quantity ordered was 97. You can see it here. And for that, we'll use the max function. Then comes count star. So count star is to actually find the number of orders or number of rows in a table. So that is what count star is used for. So we have some order details, fine, but we wanted to know how many orders we had till now. That is the number of rows here. For that, we can just use the count star. So count star returns us the count of the number of rows of that table. And you can see the count is 2996. We also saw that in this editor earlier. It was 2996. When we actually executed this statement, we can see it here. It is 2996, and we can actually verify that also. You can using this function also. So the function count of star returns the number of rows of that particular table. So in order to find the number of rows, we should be using count star. It returns 2996 rows. So these are all called as aggregate functions. So aggregate function is all about performing calculations on multiple rows of a single column. We'll be providing some column to these aggregate functions, and some calculation will be performed according to the function you use, and we'll get a single value as a result. That is what we have seen till now. So this is all about aggregate functions.